You know, there's a lot of companies out there right now that are, as I've said before, kind of alluded to at the beginning of the show, a little uncertain about what they should be doing at this moment. They're just not clear on, should we be focusing on the product, or is it all about the people, or should we have a new office, and should we let people stay at home? And I mean, just a lot of questions. So I'm going to talk with you about what we would call the business model, right? The business model. And I'm going to just share this with you. I've got some notes right here, and it's very exciting stuff. And I want you to be aware that, you know, when you sit down with anybody in a business, I don't care if it's just a startup, could be one person, could be a massive corporation, could be Mutual of Omaha, whatever it is, they all have to have a business model. Very interesting. Most of you have heard this before, but a lot of us kind of drift away from it, and we lose our focus. So the business model is essentially 9 components, 9 considerations, 9 dimensions, if you will. And these are all the ways that we, of course, make our companies work, right? It's how we conceptualize it, we create it, we make it happen, and then we look back at it and say, what part of it is working, what isn't working? I don't think this and that is working. So I'm going to just quickly highlight the aspects of a business model right now and briefly talk about them for you, and you'll just go, yeah, I forgot about that part. Now, we start out by customer segments. Now, this is an interesting thing because customers are kind of shifting in their priorities and what they're doing and so on. And of course, some of us are B2B marketers, others are serving consumers and so on. But the key idea is what segments of the population really have kind of a receptivity, right, towards what it is that we create and produce and so on. Are they fast forward people? Are they traditionalists? Are they older? Are they younger? Maybe demographics matter, but maybe only psychographics matter, right? Kind of the mentality and their values and all that. Just depends. But it's really important to segment your customer base and find out, what segments like us, and maybe some segments kind of drift away. Now, the next segment, now we got 9 segments, remember. This is how you evaluate your company. This is how you develop a plan. This is how you decide, we need to have a better value proposition. And that's the next one I'm mentioning to you. A lot of people just don't know how to express it. Frankly, there's 3 or 4 companies out there that have a very similar company to ours, and they seem to sell something very similar. So we better pull together a value proposition that differentiates us and, again, creates value so that people go, we got to go with them, of course. I mean, they've got the value, and the rest are just price guys. All right. So the next one, this would be the 3rd out of 9 segments, is the channel. How do you get to people, right? Are you the kind of organization that sits back at home or in your little office and sends out emails all day? Do you go to conferences and trade shows and events? Are those your channels by which you connect and engage with people? Do you make phone calls? Are you buying traditional advertising or untraditional advertising? So it's very interesting. What is the channel? How are we getting to them? Very important. Now, the next segment, or the next piece here, is the customer relationships. Now, this is interesting because if you have a customer, let me tell you, you want them to be happy. You want them to feel comfortable spending what they have to spend. You got to create value with them all the time, but yet you don't really know for sure. Maybe things have changed, and so maybe their version of value isn't the same as your version of value, right? And maybe you need to take them to lunch and ask a few questions, right? So customer relationships are critical. Now, the next segment of our 9 pieces here in terms of the business model are revenue streams. Now, sometimes, of course, we just have one product and we sell it and we have some profit, and then the revenue comes in, right? And of course, we pay our costs, and then what's left over is profit, right? But there might be more revenue streams. For instance, you may have conferences periodically where you share important, interesting knowledge, how to utilize AI to make a difference in your customer operations, whatever it is. So that's on top of your existing product or service, right? Similar things. A lot of different revenue streams are possible. You know, think about the knowledge that goes with the product. If you have a tangible product, you're in manufacturing or whatever it is, there's also this intangible dimension that is part of the whole thing, really, but you don't really talk about it so much. So you want to make sure that you're placing a real value on that as well. Now, key resources, that's the next one in this map, shall we say, or canvas. Key resources are like, well, I mean, obviously you need a facility, you need people, but then you also need equipment of certain sorts. And then there's a lot of people, of course, that are investing in technology. That's a key resource, right? And then there may be trainers over here that kind of need to work with the sales department. That would be maybe a key resource, right? So there's a lot of interesting resources. A lot of people say, we just don't have the resource to grow. We can just keep doing this one thing because we just don't have all the other resources. Therefore, we're kind of stuck in this position. All right, now, key activities. We're getting down to the end right here. What is a key activity? Well, some people would say, the Tom Peters would tell you, that getting people together and giving them something to talk about and say, how do we go forward the next quarter, that would be a key activity. Another one would be, let's get together with our customers and have a little party and then ask some questions and have them tell us what they're thinking about, right? Another key activity might be sitting down with recruiters and saying, what kind of people do you think we should be hiring for our company for next year? So these are all key activities and very important. Key partnerships. Now, this is something I love to talk about. A lot of companies don't understand how to form a partnership or an alliance or approach companies and say, is there something we can do together? Everybody thinks they're off in their own little world and they don't realize they have so much in common, so many different ways they could collaborate, but they don't know how to do it and what's it worth and how much money. And then finally, cost structure. A lot of companies sitting around saying, how can we lower our operating costs? What can we drive down? Is it the supply side? Is it the raw material? What are we talking about? What is our cost structure actually? Maybe we're not marking things up enough. And can we do that without losing business? Who knows? So now we have 9 segments, 9 components that go into the business model, the whole Canva, and thinking about, you know, do all of them work equally well? I think that's what I'm trying to say here. Or what is our weak link? I mean, this is a great conversation, huh? Take a look at all 9 segments, Harry. And you too, Susan. Tell us what the weakness is and tell us what our strength is on this big map with 9 boxes, basically. And tell us what's weak, what's strong, what do we have to do in this segment, that segment. This is a map of our company and a map of the future of our company. And of course, if you're working for that company, it's a map of your career. Yes, it is. All right, so those are the 9 building blocks. And if you're ever interested in chatting with us, let us know further. We'd love to visit with you in your offices or over a cup of coffee and really talk deeper about one of the building blocks that's really been a limitation and an issue for you.